I was dating his friend. That's the part everyone understood. Simple, clean, and easy to explain. What nobody understood was him. Because from the beginning, he was always there. Not close enough to matter. Not distant enough to ignore. Just watching. Not possessive, not obvious. Not even interested, at least not in the way people usually are. But every time I walked into a room, his eyes found me first. At first, I told myself I imagined it. Because why wouldn't I? I was dating Daniel. The safe one. The easy one. The man everyone liked immediately. Funny. Charming. Social. The kind of man who filled silence before you even noticed it existed. And for the first few months, I genuinely thought I was happy. Until I met Ethan. Daniel introduced us casually. One random night. One expensive rooftop party overlooking Seoul. Ethan's basically my brother, Daniel had said. And then he walked over. Felt quiet, controlled. The kind of man who didn't need attention because the room adjusted itself around him automatically. He shook my hand once. Cold fingers. Steady eyes. And for some reason, I forgot how to speak for a second. Not because he flirted. He didn't. Not because he smiled. He barely did that either. It was something else. Something heavier. Like the moment he looked at me, he noticed too much. "You're quieter than Daniel described," he said. That was it. The first thing he ever said to me. And somehow, it stayed in my head for weeks. After that, I started noticing him everywhere. Not physically, emotionally. The way conversations shifted when he entered rooms. The way people watched him carefully before speaking. The way Daniel suddenly acted different around him. Less confident, less relaxed. At first, I thought it was respect. Later, I realized it was insecurity. But back then, I still didn't understand what was happening. I only knew one thing. Every time Ethan looked at me, felt like he was trying not to. And that was the first real problem. Because restraint is noticeable. Especially when it's intense. Months passed. And slowly, small things started changing. Not with Ethan. With Daniel. He became inconsistent. Plans canceled last minute. Phone calls taken in other rooms. Little lies that didn't feel important enough to confront, but stacked on top of each other anyway. And every time I noticed one, Ethan noticed me noticing. He never said anything directly. But sometimes, I would catch him watching Daniel instead of me. Like he was waiting for something. Or maybe, dreading it. One night, the three of us ended up at dinner together after an event. Daniel disappeared halfway through to answer a call. And suddenly, it was just me and Ethan sitting across from each other. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Not awkward. Just loaded. "You shouldn't ignore things that feel wrong," he said finally. I frowned slightly. "What things?" His eyes lifted to mine. "The things you keep pretending not to notice." That hit harder than it should have. Because he was right. And he knew it. "Are you trying to tell me something?" I asked carefully. Pause. Then, "No." But his expression said otherwise. And that was the moment everything started unraveling. After that night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Not romantically. At least, that's what I told myself. It was more complicated than that. Because it wasn't attraction first. It was awareness. The feeling that he understood something before I did. And somehow, that made me trust him more than I trusted the man I was actually dating. That should have scared me. Instead, it pulled me closer. Not intentionally, not obviously, just slowly. Dangerously slowly. Then came the night everything changed. Daniel invited me to a private party at a luxury hotel downtown. His friends. Investors. People I didn't know. The kind of night built around appearances. And from the moment we arrived, something felt wrong. Daniel barely stayed near me. He kept disappearing into conversations. Leaving me standing alone longer each time. And every single time Ethan appeared nearby. Not hovering, not interrupting. Just there watching. Like he was making sure something didn't happen. Or maybe making sure it did. At some point I stepped outside onto the balcony for air. The city stretched below me in blurred lights and noise. And a few seconds later, I heard footsteps behind me. I already knew who it was. "You always leave when you're uncomfortable," Ethan said quietly. I looked over my shoulder. "And you always notice." Then, yes. Silence settled again. But this time, it felt different. "You don't seem surprised I'm out here," I said. I'm not. Why? His gaze stayed on me. Because Daniel doesn't pay attention to the right things. That landed immediately. Dangerous. What does that mean? It means you've been alone all night. My chest tightened slightly, as it was true. And somehow, he sounded angrier about it than I was. You're his friend, I said carefully. Yes. Then why does it feel like you're watching him more than me? That shifted something. Not visibly, but enough. Enough for me to feel it. Because I know him, he said quietly. And suddenly, everything slowed. Because that sentence carried weight. History. Warning. Truth. What aren't you saying? I asked. He stepped closer. Not enough to touch me. Just enough to change the air between us. You already know, he said. No, I replied softly. I think I'm starting to. Silence. Then the balcony door opened again. Daniel walked out smiling like nothing in the world had changed. But it had. Completely. Because now, I noticed the tension between them. The way Ethan stepped back immediately. The way Daniel looked between us slightly too carefully. The way silence suddenly felt strategic. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't new. Whatever existed here had been building long before I noticed it. I tried to ignore it after that. Really. I told myself I was imagining things, projecting things, creating tension where there wasn't any. But the harder I tried to return everything back to normal, the more obvious it became that normal was already gone. Daniel started getting defensive over nothing. Ethan got quieter. Me. I became hyper-aware of every glance between them, every unfinished sentence, every silence loaded with meaning. Until finally, I stopped asking myself the real question. I tried to create distance after that. Not dramatically, not obviously. Just enough to breathe again. I answered Daniel's text slower. Skipped a few group dinners. Stopped staying late whenever Ethan happened to be there. Because whatever this was, it was becoming dangerous. And I knew it. Not because anything had happened. Because nothing had. That was the problem. No affair. No confession. No crossed line. Just tension. The kind that builds quietly until it starts changing things without permission. And somehow, that felt worse. A week later, Daniel invited me to his apartment. Casual. Easy. Or at least that's how he acted. But the moment I walked in, I felt it. Something was off. The energy. The silence. The way he looked at me slightly too carefully before speaking. You okay? I asked. Yeah, he replied too quickly. That answer alone told me no. I sat down slowly, watching him move around the kitchen pretending to look for something. Stalling. Then finally, Ethan asked about you. There was. Direct. Unexpected. My chest tightened slightly. What do you mean? He asked if we were okay. We were both silent for a bit. Because that sounded harmless. But it wasn't. Not coming from Ethan. Why would he ask that? I said carefully. Daniel let out a small laugh. But there was no humor in it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Something shifted in the room after that. Not loud. Not visible. Just uncomfortable. And suddenly I realized something. Daniel noticed it too. Not everything. Not fully. But enough. Enough to make him suspicious. Enough to make him watch Ethan differently. And maybe, watch me differently too. You think something's going on? I asked quietly. His eyes lifted to mine immediately. I didn't say that. No, I replied. But you thought it. We were both silent for a bit. Then he sat across from me. And for the first time since we started dating, he looked uncertain. I trust you, he said. That should have made me feel better. Instead, it made me feel guilty. Because I wasn't sure if I trusted myself anymore. Not because I wanted Ethan. I still didn't know what I felt for him. But because part of me had already started anticipating him. Noticing him. Thinking about him before I realized I was doing it. And emotional betrayal starts long before physical betrayal does. That thought stayed with me all night. Days passed. And somehow, everything got worse. Not outwardly. Internally. Daniel became more attentive suddenly. Too attentive. Calling more. Showing up unexpectedly. Watching my reactions when Ethan's name came up. And Ethan? He started disappearing. Missing dinners. ignoring invitations, leaving rooms early whenever I arrived. First, I thought that would help. It didn't, because absence can become louder than presence when someone already lives in your head. Then came the night I finally broke. Daniel had invited me to another event. Corporate this time. Bold, expensive, performative. And Ethan was there. Of course he was. Standing near the back of the room in a black suit, looking completely detached from everything around him. But when our eyes met, something hit me immediately. Exhaustion. Not mine. His. And for some reason, that unsettled me more than anything else had so far. Throughout the night, I caught him watching Daniel repeatedly. Not jealous. Concerned. Like he was trying to decide something. And eventually, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I found him alone near the hallway outside the ballroom. You keep looking at him like you're waiting for something bad to happen, I said quietly. His expression didn't change. Maybe I am. My stomach tightened. What does that mean? We were both silent for a bit. Then he looked at me fully. And for the first time, I saw conflict in him. Real conflict. You should go home early tonight, he said. Every instinct inside me sharpened instantly. Why? Pause. Then he looked away slightly. Because Daniel's going to hurt you. Everything stopped. Completely. What? He exhaled slowly. Like he regretted saying it already. But not enough to take it back. He's hiding something, Ethan continued quietly. And whatever it is. We were both silent for a bit. Then he finished the sentence carefully. It's bigger than you think. My chest tightened hard. What aren't you telling me? His jaw shifted slightly, like he was fighting himself. Enough to know you need to leave before this gets worse. Fear crept in then. Real fear. Not of Ethan. Of the certainty in his voice. Because this wasn't jealousy. It wasn't manipulation. It sounded like warning. And suddenly, I realized something terrifying. Ethan hadn't been watching me this entire time. He'd been watching the damage coming toward me. And in reality, that was worse. I should have left that night. Honestly, I think part of me knew that. But another part? The stubborn part. The part that hated feeling controlled or protected without explanation. That part stayed. Not because I didn't believe Ethan. Because I needed to know why. I went back into the ballroom. The music louder now. The conversations messier. The atmosphere heavier in a way I couldn't explain before. And immediately, I started noticing things. Daniel drinking more than usual. People whispering after conversations stopped. One woman looking at me with what almost felt like pity. And suddenly, every instinct inside me started screaming. I found Daniel near the bar laughing with two investors. Too loud. Too forced. When he saw me walking toward him, his expression shifted for half a second. Nervous. Then gone. You okay? He asked. The same question I had asked him days ago. Funny how people mirror things when they're hiding something. I should probably head home, I said carefully. His smile faded slightly. So early. I'm tired. We were both silent for a bit. Then he nodded too quickly. Yeah. Sure. That was wrong too. Daniel always tried convincing me to stay. Always. But tonight, he wanted me gone. And suddenly, Ethan's warning felt very real. I grabbed my coat and headed toward the exit. But before I reached the doors, I heard my name. Not from Daniel. From someone else. One of the investors from earlier. Older. Polished. Drunk enough to be careless. You should be careful with him, he said casually. I stopped walking slowly. With who? He smirked slightly. Your boyfriend. My chest tightened. What do you mean? The man glanced around briefly. Then lowered his voice. He's drowning. We were both silent for a bit. Because suddenly, everything inside me went cold. What kind of drowning? The investor laughed softly like he regretted saying anything at all. Wrong kind. Then he walked away. Just like that. Leaving me standing there trying to breathe normally again. And for the first time, I understood something. Whatever Daniel was hiding, people around him already knew. Which meant this wasn't recent. It was ongoing. And somehow, I was the last person to realize it. I pulled my phone out immediately. One message. To Ethan. What's happening? The reply came less than 30 seconds later. Go home. That was it. No explanation. No reassurance. Just those two words. And somehow, that scared me more than if he had told me the truth directly. I stepped outside into the cold Seoul air and started walking quickly toward the street. But before I could reach the corner, I heard footsteps behind me. Fast. I turned instinctively. Daniel, why are you leaving like that? He asked. His voice sounded strained now. Different. I told you I was tired. That's not it. We were both silent for a bit. Then he stepped closer. And for the first time since I met him, I saw it clearly. Panic. Not sadness. Not insecurity. Panic. Did Ethan say something to you? He asked. There was immediate, direct. And suddenly, everything rearranged itself in my head. This wasn't about suspicion anymore. This was about Ethan knowing something Daniel was terrified I would find out. What did you do? I asked quietly. His face changed instantly. Nothing. Too fast. Too defensive. Wrong. Daniel. I said nothing. We were both silent for a bit. Cars moving behind us. Cold wind cutting through the street. My heart beating harder with every second. Then finally, I was trying to fix it, he said quietly. That sentence alone destroyed me. Because innocent people don't start there. What were you trying to fix? He looked away briefly. And suddenly, he looked smaller than before. Not physically, emotionally. Like whatever confidence built him was collapsing in real time. Debt, he admitted finally. Everything stopped. What? I lost money. How much? We were both silent for a bit. Too long. Then, a lot. Fear settled fully into my chest then. Not because of the money. Because of what Ethan must already know. What does that have to do with me? I asked carefully. Daniel's expression tightened immediately. And that reaction alone answered the question before he spoke. Too connected. Too guilty. I needed more time, he said quietly. Cold spread through me instantly. What did you do? Another silence. Then finally, I used your name. The world tilted. Not dramatically. Not physically. Internally. Like something fundamental inside me shifted out of place. What does that mean? Daniel swallowed hard. And for the first time, he couldn't look me in the eyes. I told them we were engaged. Everything went silent. Completely silent. No traffic. No city. No breathing. Nothing. Because suddenly, I understood why Ethan had been watching me this entire time. Not because he wanted me. Because he knew I was standing inside a disaster I couldn't even see yet. I stared at him. Waiting. Hoping somehow I misunderstood. But deep down, I already knew I hadn't. You what? I asked quietly. Daniel finally looked at me again. Desperate now. Cornered. It wasn't supposed to go this far. People always say that after things collapse. Never before. You used my name? I repeated. I needed leverage. My stomach turned instantly. Leverage for what? We were both silent for a bit. Then he answered carefully. Investors trust stability. Every word made it worse. So you told people we were getting married? It made them stop asking questions. I took a step back instinctively. Because suddenly, I didn't recognize him anymore. Not fully. Not safely. You lied about our relationship to protect yourself? I was trying to fix everything before you found out. That sentence hit harder than the confession itself. Because it meant one thing. He never planned to tell me. You were going to let me keep living inside this lie? Daniel ran a hand through his hair roughly. I thought I could handle it. No, I said quietly. You thought you could control it. We were both silent for a bit. And that silence felt different now. Not emotional. Dangerous. Because once trust breaks, everything someone says starts sounding calculated. I didn't want you involved, he said. I almost laughed. A sharp, disbelieving sound. You already involved me. Another silence. Then finally, there's more. That sentence drained the remaining air from my lungs. Of course there was. There's always more, I said quietly. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Like he hated himself for what came next. They were expecting an announcement tonight. Everything inside me froze. What? The investors. My chest tightened painfully. You were going to announce our engagement? He didn't answer immediately. which was answer enough. Oh my God. We were already losing deals, he said quickly. I needed something stable. Something people believed in. You mean me? Yes. The honesty almost made it worse. Because now, there was nowhere left for him to hide. You used me like a business strategy. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked the question that mattered most. Who else knows? Daniel's face shifted immediately. And suddenly, I knew the answer before he spoke. Ethan. Of course he knew. How long? A while. Anger hit me then. Hot. Immediate. And neither of you thought I deserved to know? Daniel looked genuinely miserable now. He wanted me to tell you. That stopped me. What? He's been pushing me for weeks. Everything rearranged again. Every look. Every warning. Every silence. Not tension. Conflict. Between them. Because Ethan had known. And Daniel had ignored him. Why didn't he tell me himself? I asked quietly. Daniel laughed once bitterly. Because despite everything he was still trying not to destroy me. That hit harder than I expected. Because somehow, that sounded exactly like Ethan. Controlled even when angry. Careful even when hurt. And suddenly, I realized something else. Ethan hadn't been watching me because he wanted something from me. He'd been watching because he was waiting for the truth to explode. And trying to stop it before it destroyed me too. I need to leave, I said quietly. Daniel's head lifted immediately. Wait. No. Please. I shook my head slowly. Because now, I finally understood why Ethan looked exhausted all the time. Why he kept pulling away. Why every warning sounded restrained instead of emotional. He wasn't trying to steal me from his friend. He was trying to protect me from him. And somehow, that hurt all three of us at once. I never meant for this to happen, Daniel said quietly. I looked at him for a long moment. And the worst part? I believed him. That was the tragedy. Not cruelty. Weakness. Fear. Desperation. That's what ruined everything. Not evil. Just someone drowning badly enough to pull other people under with him. But understanding someone doesn't erase the damage they cause. And now, the damage was everywhere. I turned away slowly. Then stopped. One more thing, I said quietly. Daniel looked up immediately. Did you know how he felt about me? We were both silent for a bit. Long enough to hurt. Then finally, yes. That answer shattered something inside me completely. Because suddenly, every moment between them made sense. The tension. The distance. The resentment. Daniel knew. And he let it continue anyway. Not because he trusted us. Because he thought Ethan would never cross the line. And maybe, that was the cruelest part of all. He was right. Ethan never crossed it. Not once. Even when it was killing him. I didn't call Ethan immediately. Even though every instinct inside me wanted to. Because now, everything felt complicated in a completely different way. Before I thought I was caught between two men. No. I realized one of them had been lying to me for months. And the other had been carrying that truth alone. That changes things. Completely. I walked for almost an hour through the city without really seeing any of it. Seoul blurred around me in lights and noise and movement. But inside my head, everything was painfully clear. Daniel was desperate. Ethan was protecting me. And somehow, both of them ended up broken by it anyway. By the time I stopped walking, my phone had 12 missed calls. All from Daniel. None from Ethan. Of course. Because Ethan wouldn't chase me right now. He'd wait. Not because he didn't care. Because he cared too much to push. And somehow, that hurt more. I finally sat down on a bench near the river, pulling my coat tighter around myself as cold wind moved across the water. Then I called him. It rang once, twice. Yes. Just that. No surprise, no questions. Like he already knew it would happen eventually. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked quietly, how long? He exhaled softly. A few months. My chest tightened. You knew the entire time? Yes. And you watched me stay with him anyway? Another silence. Then, he kept saying he'd tell you. Anger flared instantly. And you believed him? No. That answer came too fast. Too honestly. Then why didn't you tell me yourself? We were both silent for a bit. Long enough for the truth to settle between us before he even spoke it. Because you loved him. That hit hard. Not because it was true now. Because it had been true before. And Ethan knew that. I thought it wasn't my place to destroy that for you, he continued quietly. I closed my eyes briefly. Because somehow, that sounded exactly like the kind of mistake Ethan would make. Proactive. Controlled. Self-destructive. You should have told me, I whispered. I know. No defense. No justification. Just truth. And somehow, that made it impossible to stay angry at him completely. You looked at me like you wanted to say something every time we were together, I said quietly. I usually did. That almost broke me. We were both silent for a bit. Then finally, did you love me already? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Dangerous. Too honest. And for the first time since I called, Ethan didn't answer immediately. That silence alone told me everything. You don't have to say it, I whispered. Yes, I do. My chest tightened instantly. Because suddenly, everything felt irreversible. I think, he said slowly, carefully, I started trying not to. That sentence destroyed me. Not because it was dramatic. Because it sounded real. Like exhaustion. Like restraint worn down over time. When? I asked softly. Another silence. Then, the rooftop. My heart dropped. The first night we met. You barely knew me. I noticed you. We were both silent for a bit. And suddenly, I understood something terrifying. None of this started recently. It started the moment he saw me. He just fought it longer than anyone else would have. Daniel knew, I said quietly. Yes. And he still kept bringing me around you. He thought I'd control it. That hurt. Because Ethan had controlled it. Every single time. Every moment. Every look. Every silence. He controlled it until it started destroying him quietly from the inside. Why didn't you just disappear? I asked. A soft laugh left him then. Tired. I tried. That explained everything too. The distance. The disappearing acts. The missed dinners. Not avoidance. Survival. You should hate me, I whispered suddenly. That surprised him. Why would I hate you? Because I made this worse. No, he said immediately. Daniel did. But I felt it too. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan spoke again. Quietly this time. That wasn't your fault. And for the first time all night, I almost cried. Not because of Daniel. Not because of betrayal. Because Ethan still sounded more worried about protecting me than himself. Even now. After everything. I don't know what happens next, I admitted softly. I know. And that doesn't scare you? Another silence. Then, no. Why? Because now, I needed to understand him fully. Needed to know what kind of man survives something like this without turning cruel. And Ethan? He answered exactly the way I should have expected. Because losing you slowly was already worse. Everything inside me stopped. Because suddenly, this wasn't hidden anymore, not the tension, not the feelings, not the damage. Everything was finally standing in the open. And somehow that was more terrifying than the lie ever was. We met the next night. Not planned, not discussed in detail. Just happened. Like both of us already knew avoiding each other was impossible now. The cafe was quiet. Small, hidden between side streets near the river. The kind of place people go when they don't want to be seen thinking too hard. I arrived first. And for the first time since all of this started, I was nervous to see him. Not because I didn't know what I felt, but as now I did. And that changes everything. The door opened a few minutes later. Ethan walked in wearing a black coat over a dark sweater. His expression calm in the way people become calm when they're holding too much underneath. His eyes found me immediately. Of course they did. And suddenly, the air changed. Not dramatic. Just heavier. More honest. He sat across from me quietly. Neither of us spoke at first. We were both silent for a bit. Then finally, "You look tired," he said softly. I almost laughed. "That's your opening line?" It's accurate. Somehow, that made breathing easier again. A server came by. We ordered without really paying attention. And the moment we were alone again, everything returned. The tension, the awareness, the unfinished truth sitting between us. I broke up with him, I said quietly. Ethan's expression didn't change immediately, but something in his eyes did. Not relief. Pain. Because of course it was. Daniel was still his friend. Despite everything. I figured you would, he said carefully. We're both pretending this doesn't destroy him. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan leaned back slightly. It is destroying him. Honest. Immediate. And you still came here. Yes. That scared me more than if he sounded uncertain. Because certainty means commitment. And commitment means consequences. You know people are going to think this started before it did, I said quietly. They already do. And that doesn't bother you? Pause. Then, it bothers me that you got hurt. Not himself. Not his reputation. Always mine. That realization settled heavily inside me. You keep doing that, I said softly. What? Protecting me first. We were both silent for a bit. Then he looked down briefly before answering. I don't know how to stop. That sentence almost broke something in me. Because it sounded too real to romanticize. Too tired. Like protecting people had cost him things long before me. You loved him too, I said quietly. His eyes lifted immediately. What? Daniel. Pause. Then Ethan exhaled softly. He's my brother in every way except blood. And now. We were both silent for a bit. Longer this time. Because grief sounds a lot like silence when men carry it. I don't know, he admitted finally. That honesty mattered. More than perfect answers would have. I never wanted this to happen like this, he continued quietly. I know. No, he said softly. I really need you to understand that. I held his gaze. And for the first time, I saw guilt in him clearly. Real guilt. Not because he stole something. Because part of him wanted something he believed he never should have wanted at all. I spent months trying to kill this, he admitted quietly. My chest tightened instantly. And you couldn't. A faint smile touched his face then. Small. Bitter. No. We were both silent for a bit. Then finally, when did you know? His eyes stayed on mine. The night you laughed at something that wasn't funny. I frowned slightly. What? You do that when you're uncomfortable, he said quietly. You were trying to make Daniel look better in front of his investors. That stunned me. Because he remembered that. Out of everything? You noticed that? I notice everything about you. There was again. That terrifying honesty. Unfiltered now. No barriers left. And somehow, instead of pulling away from it, I moved closer to it emotionally. Dangerously closer. You make me feel guilty, I whispered before I could stop myself. That shifted him immediately. Why? Because part of me is relieved I'm here with you. We were both silent for a bit. And suddenly, the entire room felt too small. Too warm. Too aware. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. Like he felt the same thing I did. The line. Right there between us. One neither of us had crossed yet. But both of us could see clearly now. You should probably hate me too, I said softly. No. That's not healthy. A quiet breath escaped him then. Probably not. Despite everything, I smiled slightly. And for the first time that night, he almost smiled back. Almost. Then his expression shifted again. More serious now. More careful. You know this changes everything, he said quietly. I know. And if we do this... We were both silent for a bit. Then he finished carefully. There's no clean version of it. Truth. Painfully direct truth. Because no matter what happened next, someone was going to get hurt again. Maybe all of us. But the worst part, I still couldn't make myself walk away. After that night, everything became quieter. Not simpler. Just quieter. Like both of us understood we were standing too close to something irreversible now. So we slowed down. Carefully. Deliberately. No late-night confessions. No dramatic moments. No crossing lines we couldn't uncross. And somehow, that restraint made everything more intense. Because now every small thing mattered. Every glance. Every silence. Every accidental touch that lasted half a second too long. Daniel stopped calling after the breakup. At first I expected anger. Then blame. Then eventually, something. But nothing came. And honestly, that almost felt worse. Because silence leaves room for imagination. And imagination can become cruel very quickly. Ethan didn't mention him much either. Not because he didn't care, because he cared too much. I could tell. Sometimes while we talked, his attention would drift for a second. Like guilt still lived somewhere underneath everything else. And maybe it always would. One evening, we walked along the river after dinner, the city lights reflecting across the water in blurred gold and white. Cold wind moved through the streets, and for once, neither of us seemed in a hurry to fill the silence. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked quietly, "Do you regret it?" Ethan looked at me immediately. "Regret what?" "This." Pause. "Then, wanting you." I nodded slowly. We were both silent for a bit. Long enough for me to feel my heartbeat becoming louder. Then finally, "No." The honesty in that answer unsettled me immediately. Not because it was arrogant, because it was certain. "But you regret how it happened," I said quietly. "Yes." Immediate again. And somehow that mattered. Because Ethan never tried to turn pain into romance. Never tried to make the situation beautiful just because his feelings were real. He understood damage. Understood consequences. And maybe that's why I trusted him more now than I should have. "You know what the worst part is?" I asked softly. His gaze stayed on me. "What?" I think part of me knew before everything exploded. That shifted him slightly. "How?" I exhaled slowly. Because every time something happened with Daniel, we were both silent for a bit. Then I admitted it quietly. "You were the person I wanted to talk to first." That landed heavily between us. Not dramatic. Just true. And truth has weight when people stop hiding from it. Ethan looked away briefly toward the river. Like he was trying to control something inside himself before answering. "That's dangerous," he said quietly. "I know. You should have hated me." I tried. That almost made him smile again. "Almost. You weren't very good at it," he said softly. I let out a quiet breath that sounded too much like laughter. "No," I admitted. "I really wasn't." We were both silent for a bit. Then his expression changed slightly. More serious now. More careful. He called me. Everything inside me tightened immediately. "When?" "This morning." My chest dropped. And... Pause. Then Ethan answered honestly. He asked if I loved you. Cold spread slowly through me. "What did you say?" We were both silent for a bit. Long enough to hurt. Then finally, I told him yes. I stopped walking completely. Because somehow, hearing Ethan say it out loud affected me differently than I expected. Not shocking. Not surprising. Just real. Completely real. "And what did Daniel say?" Ethan's jaw shifted slightly. "Nothing at first." That sounded worse somehow. Then, another silence. Then Ethan looked at me carefully before answering. He said he knew. Everything inside me stilled. Because of course he knew. Maybe he always had. "And after that?" He asked if I ever touched you. The air felt colder suddenly. And I told him no. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan added quietly, "Because I never would have done that to him." That sentence hurt all over again. Because even now, even after everything, Ethan still sounded loyal to a man who probably hated him now. "Does he?" I asked softly. Ethan frowned slightly. "Does he what?" "Hate you." A long silence settled between us then. Not awkward. Grieving. Because some losses don't happen loudly. Sometimes relationships die slowly while everyone involved stands there watching it happen. "I think he wants to," Ethan admitted quietly. That answer felt devastatingly honest. "And you?" His eyes lifted back to mine. "I think I'm still mourning him." That almost broke me. Because suddenly, this wasn't just romance anymore. It was loss. Friendship. History. Trust. Everything tangled together until none of us could separate the damage cleanly anymore. And for the first time since all this started, I realized something painful. Loving someone doesn't always feel beautiful. Sometimes, it feels like surviving the consequences of it. A few days later, Daniel finally called me. Not late at night. Not drunk. Not emotional. Which somehow made it worse. Because calm means someone has already accepted the damage. I stared at the screen for almost a full minute before answering. Then finally, "Hello." Silence. Just breathing. We were both silent for a bit. Then he spoke quietly. "You look happier." That caught me off guard immediately. "What?" "I saw you." My chest tightened. "Where?" "Near the river." Of course. Seoul suddenly felt too small. "You were watching us?" "No," he said quickly. "I just happened to be there." We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked softly, "Why did you call?" A quiet breath left him. "I don't know." That honesty hurt more than anger would have. Because anger creates distance. Sadness doesn't. "I think part of me wanted to hear your voice again," he admitted quietly. Guilt moved through me instantly. Not because I wanted him back. Because once upon a time, I loved him enough that hearing him sound broken still affected me. "How are you?" I asked softly. Daniel laughed once. "Tired." "That's a dangerous question." "Why?" "Because if I answer honestly." We were both silent for a bit. Then he finished quietly. "You'll feel guilty." That hit immediately. Because he knew me well enough to know that was true. "I never wanted to hurt you," I whispered. "I know. And I didn't leave you for him." Another silence. Then finally, "I know that too." Somehow, that made breathing harder instead of easier. Because if Daniel hated me, this would be simpler. But he didn't. And heartbreak without hatred is much more painful to survive. "You know what the worst part is?" he asked quietly. I closed my eyes briefly. "What?" "I think he actually loves you." My chest tightened sharply. Because hearing Daniel say it out loud made everything feel unbearably real again. We were both silent for a bit. Then he laughed softly to himself. "And honestly, pause. I think you love him too." That silence after that sentence felt endless. Because denying it now would just be cruelty. And Daniel deserved better than cruelty. "I didn't mean for this to happen," I said quietly. "I know." Always that answer. Not blame. Not accusation. Just grief. And somehow, that made it impossible to breathe normally. "You were supposed to be safe," Daniel admitted quietly. That sentence broke something in me immediately. "What does that mean?" "You were the one thing in my life that wasn't complicated." We were both silent for a bit. Then he added softly, "And I ruined that too." I swallowed hard. Because suddenly, I could hear the exhaustion in him clearly. Not just heartbreak. Shame. The kind that settles deep inside someone after they realize they became the reason they lost everything. "You need help," I said quietly before I could stop myself. A long silence followed that. Then finally, "I know." Not defensive. Not angry. Just tired. "Are you getting it?" Another silence. Then, "I'm trying." That mattered. More than promises would have. Because real change usually sounds uncertain in the beginning. Not confident. We were both silent for a bit. Then Daniel spoke again. "You know he almost walked away from you because of me?" My chest tightened instantly. "What?" "He told me he would disappear if I asked him to." Everything inside me stopped. Completely. "When?" "The night after you found out everything." I couldn't speak. Because somehow, that sounded exactly like Ethan. Loyal even while suffering. Self-destructive even while in love. "What did you say?" I whispered. Daniel laughed softly again. But this time it sounded closer to heartbreak. "I told him if he disappeared now, I'd hate him forever." That hit hard. Because suddenly, I understood something important. Daniel lost both of us at the same time. Not just me. Ethan too. And maybe that was the wound neither of them knew how to survive yet. "He didn't steal you from me," Daniel said quietly. "He just loved you first." Tears burned unexpectedly behind my eyes. Because that sentence carried no anger. Only truth. And truth sounds devastating when people finally stop fighting it. "I'm sorry," I whispered. We were both silent for a bit. Then Daniel answered softly. "I know." The call ended a few minutes later. No dramatic goodbye. No closure. Just silence returning slowly after grief finally says everything it needs to say. And when I lowered my phone, I realized something painful. This story didn't have a villain. Just three people who loved each other in the wrong order. After the call with Daniel, something changed in me. Not emotionally. Structurally. Because until then, part of me still believed this situation would somehow untangle itself cleanly if we were careful enough. But now, I understood the truth. There was no clean version of this. No version where everyone walked away untouched. That realization should have pushed me away from Ethan. Instead, it pulled me closer, which honestly terrified me. A week later, Ethan invited me to dinner at his apartment. The first time. Not public. Not accidental. Not somewhere we could pretend this was still undefined. Private. Intentional. I stood outside his building for almost 2 full minutes before going in. Because crossing physical spaces changes things too. And deep down, I knew that. The elevator ride felt too quiet. Too long. By the time I reached his floor, my heartbeat was loud enough to irritate me. Then the door opened before I even knocked. Of course. Ethan stood there in dark gray sweats and a black t-shirt. His expression calm in the way people act calm when they've already thought too much about something. "You hesitated outside," he said immediately. I stared at him. "How do you know that?" "I saw you on the camera." Despite everything, I laughed softly. And for the first time in days, something felt lighter. "Should I be concerned you were watching me from upstairs?" "Yes." That made me laugh harder. And somehow, the tension eased just slightly. His apartment looked exactly like I imagined it would. Everything intentional. No clutter. No chaos. But somehow, still lonely. That part surprised me. "You live like no one's supposed to stay long," I said quietly while looking around. Ethan's eyes shifted toward me immediately. And just like that, the atmosphere changed again. We were both silent for a bit. Then he answered softly. "Most people don't." That sentence stayed with me longer than it should have. Dinner itself was simple. Homemade pasta. Wine neither of us drank much of. Slow conversation stretching naturally through the evening. And for the first time since all this started, we weren't talking about Daniel constantly. Or guilt. Or consequences. We talked about childhood instead. Family. Work. Loneliness. The kinds of things people only reveal when they've already emotionally crossed lines they can't uncross. At one point I noticed Ethan watching me again. That familiar stare. Focused. Quiet. Intense. "You do that constantly," I said softly. "What?" "Look at me like you're trying to memorize something." A faint smile touched his face this time. Small. Maybe I am. My chest tightened instantly. Because Ethan rarely flirted directly. And somehow, that made moments like this hit harder. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked quietly, "Why me?" That shifted him. His expression softened slightly. "What do you mean?" "You could have wanted anyone." "I didn't." "That's not an answer." Another silence. Then he leaned back slightly in his chair, studying me carefully before speaking. "You make me feel calm." That answer surprised me completely. "Calm?" "Yes." I frowned slightly. "That's concerning considering how complicated this became." A quiet laugh escaped him then. "Oh, rare. You're the only part that never felt complicated." That almost ruined me. Because suddenly, I understood something. Ethan never saw me as chaos. He saw me as peace. And maybe that's why he fought it so hard. Because peaceful things become dangerous when they belong to someone else first. "I think you romanticize me too much," I admitted quietly. "No. You barely know my flaws." Another silence. Then Ethan answered calmly. "I know you overthink when you're scared." My breath caught slightly. "I know you apologize for things that aren't your fault." Every word landed carefully. "I know you laugh when you're uncomfortable." We were both silent for a bit. Then he finished quietly. "And I know you keep waiting for people to leave before they actually do." Everything inside me stopped. Because that one was too accurate. I looked away immediately. And for the first time all night, I felt exposed. Not physically. Emotionally. Like he could see parts of me I spent years hiding carefully from everyone else. "How do you notice things like that?" I whispered. Ethan's expression softened again. "Because I pay attention to you." Simple. Direct. Dangerous. We were both silent for a bit. And suddenly, the entire room felt heavier again. The tension returned slowly between us. Not uncomfortable. Just impossible to ignore now. Then Ethan stood, walking toward the kitchen to refill my glass. But when he stepped back toward me, he stopped close, too close. Not touching. Just enough that I could feel the warmth coming off him. And suddenly everything slowed. You should probably tell me to move, he said quietly. But he didn't, and somehow, that mattered more than if he had touched me first. I should have told him to move. That would have been the smart thing, the safe thing. But instead, I stayed exactly where I was. And so did he. We were both silent for a bit. The kind of silence that changes shape the longer it lasts. Not awkward. Not uncertain. Just aware. Painfully aware. My heartbeat felt too loud suddenly. And Ethan? He looked calm. But I knew him well enough now to see through it. The tightness in his jaw. The careful control in his breathing. The way his hands stayed completely still at his sides, like he didn't trust them to move. You're thinking too hard again, he said softly. That almost made me laugh. You're standing extremely close to me. Yes. And somehow I'm the one overthinking? A faint smile touched his face again. Small. Dangerous. Definitely. We were both silent for a bit. Then his expression shifted slightly. More serious now. More careful. If you want me to stop this. Pause. I will. That hit immediately. Because Ethan never pushed. Never assumed. Even now. Even here. With everything between us finally standing in the open. And somehow, that restraint affected me more than confidence would have. What if I don't want you to stop? I asked quietly before I could stop myself. Everything changed after that sentence. Completely. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just permanently. Ethan looked at me for a long moment without speaking. And for the first time since I met him, I saw his control slip. Not entirely. Just enough. Enough to see how much this had cost him. We were both silent for a bit. Then he asked softly, "Are you sure?" That question mattered. More than anything else. Because this wasn't impulse anymore. This wasn't confusion. This was choice. And choices carry consequences. I swallowed slowly. Then nodded. Yes. The moment after that felt impossibly still. Like the entire world paused briefly to watch what happened next. Then Ethan lifted one hand carefully. Slow enough for me to stop him if I wanted. His fingers brushed lightly against my jaw. And somehow, that tiny touch felt more intimate than anything I'd experienced in months. Not rushed. Not possessive. Careful. Like I was something fragile he still couldn't fully believe he was allowed to touch. You have no idea how long I've wanted to do that, he admitted quietly. My chest tightened instantly. Because suddenly, I realized something. Ethan had probably replayed moments like this in his head 1,000 times while convincing himself none of them could ever happen. And now we were here anyway. We were both silent for a bit. Then finally, he kissed me. Softly at first. Carefully. Like he was still giving me room to pull away even while touching me. But the second I kissed him back, everything changed. All that restraint. All that control. All those months of silence. I felt it break. Not violently. Just honestly. His hand moved gently into my hair as he pulled me closer, and suddenly, I understood why this had been impossible to ignore. Because nothing about Ethan felt temporary. Not the way he looked at me. Not the way he touched me. Not the way he loved. Everything about him felt deliberate. And that was dangerous. We pulled apart slowly. Neither of us moving far. Neither of us breathing normally. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan let out a quiet breath against my forehead. That was a terrible idea. Despite everything, I laughed softly. You say that after kissing me? Yes. Interesting timing. A small smile appeared again. But it faded quickly. Because reality always returns eventually. Daniel's going to hate me, he admitted quietly. That sentence shifted the atmosphere immediately. Not enough to ruin the moment. Just enough to remind us this wasn't simple. Never simple. He already knew, I said softly. I know. And he still told you to stay. Ethan's expression tightened slightly. That doesn't make this easier. No, I admitted quietly. It doesn't. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked the question sitting underneath everything else. Do you regret it now? Ethan looked at me immediately. And this time, there was no hesitation in him at all. No. The certainty in that answer settled deeply inside me. Because despite the guilt, despite the damage, despite the history, he still chose this. Still chose me. And maybe that should have terrified me more. But instead, for the first time since all of this began, I felt something else. Safe. Not because the situation was safe. It wasn't. But because Ethan never made me question where I stood with him. Not once. And after months of confusion and betrayal and emotional chaos, that certainty felt almost addictive. Dangerously addictive. Ethan rested his forehead lightly against mine for a second before pulling back slightly. "We should probably slow down," he said quietly. I smiled faintly. "You say that like we've ever been good at it." That actually made him laugh softly. Real this time. And somehow, he looked lighter. Like finally telling the truth had freed something inside him too. But even then, deep down I think both of us knew. This wasn't the beginning of something simple. It was the beginning of something irreversible. The next morning felt different. Not awkward, not regretful. Just real. And honestly, that scared me more. Because now there was no confusion left to hide behind. No tension we could pretend was imaginary. No feelings we could dismiss as complicated timing. We kissed. We chose it. And now, we had to live inside what came after. I woke up in Ethan's apartment earlier than he did. Soft gray morning light filled the room quietly, the city outside still half asleep. For a few seconds, I just watched him. Calm. So human. Not the controlled version of him everyone else saw. Just Ethan. And somehow, that version felt even more dangerous to me emotionally. Because vulnerability creates attachment faster than attraction does. I slipped carefully out of bed, pulling one of his hoodies over myself before walking toward the kitchen. The hoodie smelled like him. Clean, dark, familiar already. That realization alone almost overwhelmed me. Because how did something become familiar this fast? I was making coffee when I heard footsteps behind me. Then his arms wrapped loosely around my waist from behind. Slow, sleep warm, effortless. And suddenly, my entire body forgot how to function normally again. "You steal clothes quickly," Ethan murmured against my hair. I smiled despite myself. "You left this within reach." "That sounds intentional." We were both silent for a bit. Then he pressed a soft kiss against my temple and something inside me tightened painfully. Not fear. Attachment. Which honestly felt more dangerous. "You're thinking too hard again," he said quietly. "How do you keep knowing that?" "Because your shoulders tense when you do it." Of course he noticed that too. I turned slowly in his arms until I was facing him fully. And suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again. Not heavy, just intimate. The kind that sneaks up on people slowly before they realize they're emotionally trapped. "This feels too easy," I admitted softly. Ethan studied me carefully. "That scares you?" "Yes." We were both silent for a bit. Then he nodded slightly. "It scares me too." That answer mattered. Because perfect confidence would have felt dishonest now. And Ethan, for all his control, he was never dishonest with me. Not emotionally. "You don't seem scared," I said quietly. A faint smile touched his face. "I'm better at hiding it." That made me laugh softly. And for a moment, everything actually felt normal. Simple. Dangerously simple. Then his phone rang. And immediately, the atmosphere changed. Ethan's expression shifted the second he saw the screen. Controlled again. Distant again. Not from me. From whatever world existed outside this apartment. "You should answer it," I said quietly. He didn't move immediately. Then finally, "Yes." He stepped away toward the living room while answering. I tried not to listen. Really. But some silences are loud enough to hear anyway. "No." Pause. Then, I said no. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan's voice lowered slightly. "More dangerous now. Don't involve her again." Cold spread slowly through my chest. Because I already knew who this was about. Me. Another silence. Then, "Handle it." The call ended sharply after that. Ethan stood still for a second before turning back toward me. And immediately, I saw it. Pressure. Not emotional pressure. Strategic pressure. The kind powerful people carry when things start moving behind closed doors. "What happened?" I asked quietly. Then Ethan walked back toward me slowly. "Daniel's father found out about us." Everything inside me tightened instantly. I frowned slightly. Why does that matter? Another silence. And suddenly, I knew the answer before he said it. Because people like Ethan don't hesitate unless consequences are large. He invested in Daniel's company, Ethan said carefully. There's more, I replied quietly. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan finally admitted. He blames me for what happened. My chest tightened harder. How bad? Ethan looked at me directly. The kind of bad that affects more than feelings. There was again. That world. The one I kept forgetting existed until it suddenly crashed back into us. Power. Money. Influence. Consequences bigger than emotions. What does he want? I asked softly. A humorless smile touched Ethan's face briefly. You gone. The words landed heavily between us. Not dramatic. Just real. And suddenly, that peaceful morning disappeared completely. Because now we weren't just dealing with heartbreak anymore. We were dealing with fallout. Real fallout. And Daniel? I asked carefully. Another silence. Then Ethan exhaled slowly. He hasn't defended us. That hurt unexpectedly. Not because Daniel owed us approval. Because somehow, part of me hoped he would understand eventually. But maybe understanding and forgiveness are two completely different things. We knew this would happen, Ethan said quietly. Yes, I whispered. But knowing pain is coming doesn't make it hurt less when it arrives. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan stepped closer again, his expression calmer now. More certain. They're going to try to make this ugly. I looked at him carefully. And us. Then Ethan answered in the same terrifyingly steady voice he always used when he meant something completely. We stay honest. And somehow that answer mattered more than promises about forever ever could. For a while, we managed it well. Better than I expected, honestly. The pressure stayed outside most days. People talked. People judged. People chose sides. But Ethan and I, we stayed steady, careful, intentional. And somehow, that made everything feel more serious than if we'd rushed into chaos. He never hid me. That mattered. If we went somewhere together, he walked beside me openly. Someone asked about us, he answered directly. No hesitation. No vague language. And after everything with Daniel, that honesty felt almost unreal. But honesty doesn't protect people from consequences. Eventually, those arrive anyway. It happened 3 weeks later. I was leaving work when I noticed someone waiting across the street. Older man. Dark coat. Still posture. Watching. The second our eyes met, I knew. Not random. Intentional. My chest tightened immediately. Because people don't stand that still unless they came for a reason. He crossed the street slowly as I stepped outside. Miss Han. I stopped walking carefully. Yes. I'd like a moment of your time. Professional voice. Controlled. Dangerous in the way calm men often are. I don't think so. That wasn't really a request. Cold spread through me instantly. We were both silent for a bit. Then he held out a business card. Daniel Co. Sr. My stomach dropped. Daniel's father. Of course. I think we should talk privately, he said calmly. Every instinct inside me screamed no. But another instinct, the stubborn one, said, because running would only confirm weakness to someone like him. I have 10 minutes, I said carefully. A faint smile touched his face. Like he already expected that answer. Of course he did. Men like him build entire lives predicting people. We ended up inside a quiet cafe 2 blocks away. The atmosphere shifted the second we sat down. Heavy. Controlled. Like this wasn't a conversation. It was assessment. Daniel's father studied me calmly for several seconds before speaking. I expected someone different. There was the insult hidden inside politeness. What kind of someone? I asked quietly. Another pause. Then, less intelligent. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Because at least he was honest about being manipulative. You think I manipulated Ethan? I asked. No, he replied calmly. I think you complicated him. That landed harder than I expected. Because somehow, that sounded accurate. We were both silent for a bit. Then he leaned back slightly. My son loved you. Past tense. Deliberate. I know. And Ethan. Pause. Then he smiled faintly. He doesn't love carefully. Cold moved through me instantly. Because somehow, that sounded less like criticism and more like warning. What do you want from me? I asked quietly. Another silence. Then finally, I want you to understand what happens next. There was the real reason he came. Not emotion. Strategy. Meaning. Meaning Ethan destroys things when he becomes emotionally attached. My chest tightened immediately. That's not true. A faint smile touched his face again. You don't know him as well as you think. Anger flickered inside me then. Not explosive. But you don't get to define him because you've known him longer. No, he replied calmly. But experience helps. We were both silent for a bit. Then he spoke again. My son lost control because he loved you weakly. That sentence felt cruel intentionally. But Ethan, pause. He'll love you destructively. Something about the certainty in his voice unsettled me. As suddenly, I remembered everything Ethan was willing to sacrifice already. Friendship, business relationships, reputation, and for one dangerous second, fear touched me again. Not fear of Ethan hurting me. Fear of what he'd destroy protecting me. You think you're warning me, I said quietly. I am. And what exactly are you warning me about? Daniel's father held my gaze steadily. The kind of man who burns entire parts of his life down once he decides something matters more. We were both silent for a bit. And annoyingly, part of me understood exactly what he meant. Because I'd seen glimpses of it too. Ethan didn't love halfway. Didn't protect halfway. Didn't lose halfway either. You think I should leave him, I said softly. I think eventually you'll realize loving men like Ethan comes with a price. That sentence stayed between us heavily. Because deep down, I already knew that. The terrifying part? I wasn't sure it would make me leave anyway. Daniel's father stood slowly after finishing his coffee. Conversation over. Decision made. Then before leaving he looked at me one last time. If you stay, he said calmly, be absolutely certain you can survive being chosen by him. And just like that, he walked away, leaving me sitting there alone with a cold cup of coffee and a terrifying realization settling slowly into my chest. Because for the first time, someone finally put my fear into words perfectly. Ethan wouldn't destroy me. He'd destroy himself for me. And to be honest, that felt worse. I didn't tell Ethan about the conversation immediately. Not because I wanted to hide it. Because I needed time to think first. And honestly, that scared me. Because Daniel's father understood something about Ethan that I already suspected myself. Once Ethan decided something mattered, he stopped measuring consequences normally. And right now, that something was me. I walked home slowly that night, replaying every moment from the conversation over and over again. He'll love you destructively. The sentence stayed with me. Because it didn't feel entirely wrong. That was the problem. By the time I reached my apartment, my thoughts were loud enough to exhaust me completely. And of course, the second I opened my door, my phone buzzed. Ethan, did you get home safely? Simple. Consistent. Always checking. I stared at the message for a few seconds longer than necessary before replying. Yes. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, you sound distant. I almost smiled despite myself. Of course he noticed through one word. Can you come over? I typed. The reply came instantly. Already outside. That made my chest tighten unexpectedly. I walked to the window slowly. And there he was. Standing beside his car under the streetlight like he'd been waiting there the entire time. Not impatient. Not demanding. Just present. Something about that almost overwhelmed me emotionally. Because Ethan never made love feel loud. He made it feel constant. I went downstairs a minute later. The second he saw my face, his expression shifted. Concern immediately. What happened? No greeting. No small talk. Straight to the truth. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked quietly, how bad are you when you love someone? That stopped him completely. Not visibly, but enough. Enough for me to feel it. Who talked to you? He asked carefully. There was immediate understanding. Because he already knew exactly where that question came from. Daniel's father. Ethan's jaw tightened instantly. And suddenly, the air around him changed. Sharper. Colder. He approached you alone? Yes. What did he say? We were both silent for a bit. Then I answered honestly. He said loving you comes with a price. A humorless breath escaped Ethan softly. Sounds like him. That's not all he said. His eyes stayed fixed on mine. He said you destroy things when you care about them. Another silence. Longer this time. Then Ethan looked away briefly. And somehow, that worried me more than denial would have. You think he's right, I said quietly. No, he replied immediately. But something in his expression contradicted him. And I noticed. Of course I noticed. You hesitated. I'm thinking. About what? We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan answered honestly. About whether I'm already proving him right. That hit hard. Because suddenly, I understood something important. Ethan was afraid too. Not of commitment. Of damage. Of becoming the reason my life collapsed under pressure. I don't need protecting from you, I said softly. His gaze lifted back to mine immediately. That's not how I think. I know. And that's the problem. We were both silent for a bit. Cold wind moved through the street around us while neither of us moved closer yet. Then finally, Ethan spoke again. My father was like that. That surprised me. Not the statement itself. The fact that he said it at all. Because Ethan rarely talked about family unless it mattered deeply. What do you mean? Pause. Then. He loved people by sacrificing himself for them. Something tightened in my chest. And eventually there wasn't enough left of him for himself. The honesty in that answer unsettled me immediately. Because now, I understood where this came from. This wasn't just personality. It was inheritance. Learned behavior passed down quietly through generations of men who thought destruction and devotion were the same thing. I'm not him, Ethan said quietly. But you're afraid you could become him. We were both silent for a bit. Then he admitted softly. Yes. That honesty changed something between us again. Because suddenly, this wasn't about me fearing Ethan's intensity alone. It was about Ethan fearing it too. I don't want to watch you ruin yourself trying to keep me, I admitted quietly. Ethan stepped closer then. Not rushed. Certain. You won't. You can't promise that. No, he said calmly. But I can promise I'll never make decisions for you in the name of loving you. That mattered. More than dramatic promises ever could. Because Ethan finally understood the difference between protecting someone and controlling their choices. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked the question sitting underneath everything else. If things get worse. His eyes stayed on mine immediately. Yes. Will you still tell me the truth? Another silence. Then Ethan answered quietly. Even when the truth makes you leave. That sentence settled deeply inside me. Because that was real love. Not possession, not sacrifice. Honesty strong enough to risk loss. And for the first time since Daniel's father spoke to me, something inside me finally calmed again. Not because the fear disappeared. Because now I knew Ethan feared the same thing I did. And somehow that made us safer than certainty ever could. Things stayed calm after that. Not perfect. But calm enough that I started trusting it again. Which honestly should have worried me more. Because peace feels safest right before life decides to interrupt it. A month passed. Then another. And slowly, Ethan stopped looking like he expected me to disappear every time I got quiet. That was the first real change I noticed in him. Less guarded. Less braced for loss. Sometimes I'd catch him watching me with something softer now. Not restraint anymore. Relief. And somehow, that affected me more than intensity ever had. One Sunday afternoon we ended up back at the river where so much of this story seemed to unfold naturally. Cold air. Gray skies. The city moving quietly around us. I leaned against the railing while Ethan stood beside me, one hand resting lightly against my back like touching me had become instinct now. You're calmer lately, I said softly. A faint smile touched his face. That's your fault. That sounds dangerous. It probably is. We were both silent for a bit. Then his phone buzzed. The second he looked at the screen, everything shifted. Not dramatically, but enough. Enough for me to notice immediately. What happened? I asked quietly. Ethan stared at the screen for another second before locking it again. Daniel. My chest tightened slightly. Not from jealousy. From instinct. Because Daniel's name never arrived peacefully anymore. Is he okay? Another silence. Then Ethan answered carefully. No. Cold spread slowly through me. What do you mean? He's been missing meetings. That didn't sound like Daniel. Even at his worst emotionally, Daniel was controlled publicly. Structured. What else? Ethan exhaled slowly. He's drinking again. That word landed heavily. As suddenly, I understood this wasn't new behavior. Just returning behavior. Has this happened before? I asked quietly. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan nodded once. Years ago. Something inside me tightened painfully. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't my story to tell. That answer sounded exactly like Ethan. Loyal even when silence hurts people. And now, another silence. Then, now I don't know what helps him anymore. That sentence stayed between us heavily. Because despite everything, Ethan still sounded worried first. Not angry. Not resentful. Worried. You should call him, I said softly. Ethan's expression shifted immediately. You think he wants to hear from me right now? No, I admitted quietly. But I think he needs to. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan looked away briefly toward the river. And for the first time in weeks, I saw conflict return to him again. Not about us. About Daniel. I keep thinking if I'd disappeared sooner, he admitted quietly. I stopped him immediately. No. His eyes lifted back to mine. This isn't your fault. That doesn't mean I didn't help break him. That hurt. Because part of him genuinely believed it. And maybe part of me did too. Not entirely. But enough. Daniel made his own choices, I said carefully. So did I. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan admitted something quietly that almost broke my heart. He was the only person who knew everything about me before you. That sentence carried years inside it. History. Brotherhood. Trust. And suddenly, I realized Ethan wasn't just mourning friendship. He was mourning the person who knew him before he became this version of himself. That kind of loss changes people permanently. You still love him, I whispered softly. Ethan looked at me immediately. Yes. No hesitation. No shame. Just truth. And somehow, that honesty made me love him more painfully than before. Because real love doesn't erase previous love. It survives beside it. Messily. Humanly. His phone buzzed again. This time Ethan answered immediately. Yes. We were both silent for a bit while he listened. Then his entire posture changed. Alert. What happened? Cold moved through me instantly. Because I'd never heard that tone from him before. Pure fear. Another silence. Then Ethan spoke again, already moving. Which hospital? Everything inside me dropped. Hospital. Ethan ended the call sharply and looked at me immediately. For one terrifying second, I already knew. It's Daniel, I whispered. Ethan nodded once. And suddenly, the world around us stopped feeling calm entirely. What happened? Then Ethan answered quietly. He crashed his car. Everything inside me went cold. Completely cold. Is he? He's alive. Alive but not okay. Because Ethan's face told me that immediately. We need to go, he said. And just like that, the past crashed back into our lives again. Harder than ever before. The drive to the hospital felt unreal. Too quiet. Too fast. Seoul blurred outside the windows in streaks of gray and white while neither of us spoke much. Because what was there to say? Daniel almost died. And suddenly, everything else felt small. Ethan drove with one hand tight against the steering wheel, his jaw locked hard enough to worry me. Not panic. Controlled panic. Which somehow felt worse. You don't have to come in if you don't want to, he said suddenly. I looked at him immediately. Yes, I do. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan nodded once. And somehow, that single movement looked grateful. The hospital lights felt too bright when we arrived. Too sterile. Too awake. Everything smelled like antiseptic and exhaustion. A nurse recognized Ethan immediately the second we stepped onto the floor. Family, she asked quickly. The word hit strangely. Ethan answered without hesitation. Yes. And somehow, that felt true. Not legally. Not technically. But emotionally, yes. Completely yes. We were both silent for a bit while the nurse explained things quietly. Minor internal injuries. Broken ribs. Concussion. Lucky. That word kept repeating. Lucky. Like surviving destruction automatically counts as luck. Can we see him? Ethan asked quietly. The nurse hesitated briefly, then nodded. Briefly. The walk down the hallway felt endless. And suddenly, I realized I was scared. Not of hospitals, of seeing Daniel broken. Because no matter what happened between us, part of me still carried the memory of loving him. And those memories don't disappear just because relationships do. Ethan stopped outside the room first. His hand tightened briefly into a fist before relaxing again. You okay? I asked softly. A humorless breath escaped him. No. Honest. Always honest. We were both silent for a bit. His voice sounded rough. Thinner. Ethan stepped closer immediately. Of course we did. Daniel laughed softly once before wincing in pain. That sounded pathetic. No, Ethan replied quietly. It sounded human. That silence after that sentence felt devastatingly emotional somehow. Because suddenly, none of this was about betrayal anymore. It was grief. 3 people standing inside grief together. I moved closer slowly until Daniel finally looked at me too. And for one painful second, I saw it. Love still there. Hurt still there. But softer now. Less sharp. How bad is it? I asked quietly. Daniel looked back toward the ceiling briefly. Apparently my timing's still terrible. Despite everything, I laughed softly through the tightness in my chest. Ethan? He looked dangerously close to losing composure entirely. You scared us, I admitted quietly. That made Daniel's expression shift immediately. Guilt. I'm sorry. We were both silent for a bit. Then Ethan spoke quietly. What happened? Daniel looked away immediately. And somehow, that answer terrified me before he even spoke. I wasn't paying attention. Silence. Then Ethan asked carefully. Were you drinking? Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Which was answer enough. Pain moved visibly across Ethan's face then. Not anger. Disappointment. Fear. The kind that comes from almost losing someone you still love despite everything. You promised me, Ethan said quietly. That sentence hit hard. Because suddenly, I realized this conversation had happened before. Years ago maybe. Different hospital. Different disaster. Same fear. Daniel swallowed hard. I know. We were both silent for a bit. Then Daniel looked toward me again. I didn't do it because of you. That sentence came too quickly. Too intentionally. Which meant he thought I believed otherwise. I know, I said softly. And I did. This wasn't manipulation. This was collapse. Slow emotional collapse finally crashing physically. Daniel laughed bitterly under his breath. Honestly, I think I stopped knowing how to hold my life together a long time ago. That hurt. Because broken people usually sound most truthful when they're exhausted. Ethan stepped closer to the bed then. And for the first time since we entered the room, his voice cracked slightly. Barely. But enough. You should have called me. Everything stopped after that. Because suddenly, I understood something important. No matter what happened between us, Ethan never stopped being his person either. Daniel looked at him quietly for several seconds before answering. I didn't think you'd still come. That almost destroyed the entire room emotionally. Because there it was. The real wound underneath everything else. Not just betrayal. Abandonment. Fear that love disappears once people fail each other badly enough. And Ethan? Ethan answered immediately. Daniel. We were both silent for a bit. Then he finished softly. You're still my brother. Tears burned painfully behind my eyes. Because somehow, that sentence felt bigger than romance. Bigger than heartbreak. It felt like forgiveness trying to survive damage. And maybe, that was harder than love ever was. After that night at the hospital, something changed between all of us again. Not magically. Not cleanly. But honestly, the anger softened. Not disappeared. Because it's difficult to hold on to rage completely when someone is lying in a hospital bed reminding you how fragile people actually are. Ethan visited Daniel every day after work. At first I wasn't sure if I should go too. Part of me worried my presence would make things harder. But Daniel surprised me. On the 3rd day when Ethan stepped out to take a call, Daniel looked at me quietly and said, You don't have to keep standing in the hallway like you're trespassing. That caught me off guard immediately. I didn't know if you wanted me here. We were both silent for a bit. Then Daniel sighed softly. I don't know what I want most days lately. Honest. Exhausted honesty. And somehow, that mattered more now than pride did. I sat down slowly beside the bed while late afternoon light filled the room quietly around us. Daniel looked different, sober. Sharper somehow. Sadness sat visibly on him now in a way alcohol used to blur. You scared Ethan, I said softly. A faint smile touched his face briefly. He hides it badly when it's me. That sentence carried years inside it. And suddenly, I could picture them younger. Two men growing up side by side long before I existed in either of their lives. That kind of history doesn't disappear just because people hurt each other. You still know him better than anyone, I admitted quietly. Daniel looked at me for a second before answering. No. I frowned slightly. What? Another silence. Then, you do now. That hit unexpectedly hard. Because it didn't sound bitter. It sounded accepting. We were both silent for a bit. Then Daniel looked down at his hands quietly. You know what the worst part is? What? I was angry at him for loving you. Pause. While knowing I only started realizing how deeply I loved you after I was already losing you. That sentence settled painfully between us. Because there was truth in it. Daniel loved me. I never doubted that. But sometimes people don't fully understand what they have until fear enters the room. And by then, damage already exists. I wish things happened differently, I whispered. Daniel laughed softly. Me too. We were both silent for a bit. Then he looked at me carefully. But honestly, pause. I think he was always going to love you. My chest tightened immediately. Daniel. No, he interrupted quietly. I mean before any of this became messy. His expression softened slightly. I saw it the first night. Everything inside me stilled. What? He looked at you like he recognized something. That sentence almost overwhelmed me emotionally. Because somehow, that sounded exactly right. Not attraction first. Recognition. Like Ethan saw me before either of us understood what that meant. And you still kept bringing me around him, I said softly. Daniel smiled faintly to himself. I thought Ethan was too loyal to ever act on it. We were both silent for a bit. Then he added quietly. I underestimated both of you. That honesty hurt too. Because none of us planned this. Not really. But human again. Ethan handed Daniel his coffee before sitting beside me quietly. Then Daniel looked between both of us for a second before speaking again. You know, everyone thinks this should have destroyed us completely. Ethan leaned back slightly in his chair. It almost did. We were both silent for a bit. Then Daniel nodded once. Yeah. Another silence settled. Softer this time. Less painful. Then finally, Daniel looked at Ethan carefully. You love her. Direct. No avoidance left now. Ethan's hand shifted slightly against mine before answering. Yes. No hesitation. No shame. Just truth. Daniel nodded slowly like he already knew that answer before asking. Then he looked at me. And you love him? My chest tightened instantly. Because somehow, this moment felt bigger than any confession before it. Not secret anymore. Not hidden behind tension.